Hi, everybody. This is Saad. As many of you know, I construe postmodernism and its associated academic, in quotes, variants as ultimately the worst of all possible idea pathogens because it attacks the fundamental epistemology of truth, right? Everything is valid. There is no accepted scientific method, there is no objective truth. There's only subjectivity. We are bound by our biases, by our personal perspectives. And that, of course, has led to all sorts of, quote, research in qualitative journals where you engage in what's called auto-ethnography, right? You go shopping at a mall and you enter a Dear Diary, and voila, this becomes a published paper. Today, what I'd like to do is read for you, as I have in the past, various snippets from a recent paper that came out in a journal, Qualitative Research, which is a journal that within that genre is actually quite established. It has an impact factor here. It says 3.096, which is a pretty good, reasonable impact factor. So it's certainly one of the more prestigious journals, as far as I know, in this field. It's published by Sage Journals, so Sage is a serious publisher. So here we go. And I swear to you, this is not satire. I will even put a link to the journal, as I always do, to the journal article, as I always do whenever I engage in this exercise. So here we go. I got this today, by the way. I saw it on my Twitter feed. So this is titled, this was first published April 26, 2022. I'm not sure if it's still an online paper. Yes, I guess it is so far an online. It's only published online, so it's waiting in the queue to get a slot in a eventual issue. So as I said, it's in Qualitative Research. The title of the paper by Carl Anderson is "I'm Not Alone, We Are All Alone, Using Masturbation as an Ethnographic Method in Research on Shota Subculture in Japan." So I'm being literal here. Masturbation will be used as the method of data collection. All right, here we go. Abstract. I wanted to understand how my research participants experience sexual pleasure when reading Shota, a Japanese genre of self-published erotic comics that features young boy characters. I therefore started reading the comics in the same way as my research participants had told me that they did it, while masturbating. In this research note, I will recount how I set up an experimental method of masturbating to Shota comics and how this participant observation of my own desire not only gave me a more embodied understanding of the topic for my research, but also made me think about loneliness and ways to combat it as driving forces of the culture of self-published erotic comics. There you go. So, introduction. I had hit a wall in my research. Semi-structured interviews can only take you so far, especially when the topic is sensitive, which mine is. So, I didn't read the references that he cites. So, there's only so far that you can go using semi-structured interviews. Some of the topics simply involve you engaging in profound, assiduous masturbation. So I will skip here. I'll just go to where he introduces his method. Masturbation as a method. So this is where he's explaining the methodology. This is how I set out to use masturbation as a method. For a period of 3 months, I would masturbate only to Shota comics. For this purpose, I would use doshinshi and commercial volumes that I had bought or been given during fieldwork in Japan. In short, I would masturbate in the same way that my research participants did. After each masturbation session, I would write down my thoughts and feelings, a kind of critical self-reflection in a note, as well as details about which material I had used, where I had done it, at what time, and for how long. So literally the methodology is, it's a dear diary of his masturbatory practices. I would not be allowed to have any other sexual relief during this field work, in my own sexuality. No regular porn, no sex with another person, no fantasies or memories. It had to be Shota every time. I happened to live alone during this experiment, and I had newly become single after a long relationship. These factors probably contributed to my willingness and eagerness to explore this method. Okay, so then I will skip. So here are some of his brief findings. The 3 months of masturbation to Shota comics resulted in 30 entries in my notebook. Since this essay focuses on the method as such, I will recount the main findings briefly and in regards to whether they helped me get closer to understanding the experience of my research participants. Excerpt from my field diary after reading a doshinji by Shigeru from the Circle or Doshinshi group Shonen Zoom. Started reading on the toilet. Boy who is staying with relatives happens to see his same age friend masturbate. He can't let go of this sight. I continued in bed, arranged the pillows until I was in a comfortable position, a bit ceremonial. The boy is now observing Tokyo-kun through the window on the veranda while jerking off. He slips on the snow and is discovered. Tokyo-kun angry but also excited, even as he keeps repeating, I'm not homo. The boy who has admitted to everything has nothing to lose, so he throws himself over Tokyo-kun and starts sniffing his cock and licking his his smooth balls. And while waiting for the shot, I came. 10 September 2021. Okay, this is not satire. I'm reading from an academic paper published in an academic journal. I know of people who did their entire research stream in this fashion, not necessarily using masturbation, but other laudable methods. They've gotten tenure using this method. This is why academia becomes the laughingstock, not because there aren't serious academics, and not because in the social sciences there aren't extremely serious academic scholars and social scientists. It's because it has been parasitized by complete insanity. Using masturbation as a research methodology of your auto-ethnography, it defeats even my satire. So let me just jump very quickly to the conclusion. What I learned from this experiment was to attach greater meaning and value to the act of masturbation, and especially of doing it to two-dimensional material in the form of comics. By that, I don't mean that I had belittled it before, but in a way I think we all belittle unconsciously practices that we don't understand. Masturbating made me understand. Thinking more critically about my own masturbation also made me wonder if all sex is masturbation, in the sense that people are focused on their own pleasure and use other people as, quote, masturbation material, close quote. Anyways, I will leave the rest of this paper, but this is what we have, people. This person, I'm not sure if this is what level this person is in terms of their academic careers. I think they might be, let me see here. I would like to thank Elizabeth Lund Engelbrusten for commenting on an earlier version of this article, the two anonymous reviewers providing useful feedback, and my PhD supervisor, Sharon Kinzela, for always encouraging me to go where my research takes me. So imagine that we now have to take #MeToo seminars to learn how to speak to someone. Because until those seminars came along 2 years ago, my God, we didn't know how to speak to people. We are now taught that if you see someone complimenting someone on campus in an unwanted manner, that's a form of sexual violence. But on the other hand, when you have a guy basically write a penthouse letter of his masturbatory, adventures, then that is not #MeToo. That's science. You see the difference? You're walking on campus and you see a guy complimenting a woman who doesn't appear to be open to that compliment. That's sexual assault. A guy writing about how he masturbates and talks about his genitalia, that's academic auto-ethnography. I wish I could say slowly we inch, By the way, I've sat on committees where I had to sit through dozens and dozens of such research proposals. Take care, everybody.